So one of the exercises that I found to be really helpful during my deep work sessions last year, I actually came across in an old volume of the Harvard Business Review. I used to be a subscriber to HBR, and this particular volume was issued in November, December of 2022, and it's entitled, "What Does Your Company Really Stand For?" Figuring that out is essential. Here's how. And the subtitle for this volume is "Align What Matters to You as an Organization with What Matters to Your Employees." And so when I was going through this article, it was really fantastic. There was a few things that really stuck out to me. And one of them was this process that one of the authors takes different key stakeholders and organizations through. The author's name is Paul Ingram, and he's a professor at the Columbia School of Business. And this process is called the Values Alignment Process. And it really stood out to me because, as I mentioned previously in the video, one of the main things I was trying to accomplish last year was figuring out kind of a vision and mission statements for my business and for me personally. So after reading this article, I decided to do this process myself. A quick Google search led me to these worksheets. Again, the author's name is Paul Ingram, and you Google his name and you can type in ideal self-values chart, or you can type in values alignments process or value structure, and it should come up. So essentially how this process works is Paul will take through these different members of this organization through various exercises to help them identify what their core foundational values are. And once they've identified about 8 or so, he helps them go through strategies to help place them in a hierarchy or some sort of what he calls a value structure. And so you kind of end up with this, it could be a pyramid, it can look like a key or like an organizational team structure that you might see for a company. So basically at the bottom of your organization chart, you'll have all of your kind of core foundational values, and then they all kind of lead into what you identify to be your top values. So what are these different key values sort of flow into you? And when you kind of identify that, you've essentially identified your top value. So this exercise I found to be pretty rigorous and challenging for myself. It took me about a good maybe 6 or so months to kind of work through this process and creating my own value chart. Part of that was trying to find the words to identify specifically what my foundational values were. If you're struggling to find the words to sum up your values, you can simply do a Google search of values, and all kinds of lists will come up to kind of help you identify kind of keywords that might go along with some of the ideas that you have. So for me, I ended up finding a lot of words that are, I would say, are synonyms that either didn't quite exactly sum up with what my value was, and or I was trying to figure out through those similar values I was coming up with what was the main key foundational one. And once I identified them, the next process for me that took a while was putting them in a hierarchy. The worksheet and the article kind of described that your top value should kind of be this more kind of abstract idea or concept or emotion or feeling that really resonates with you, that all of your other foundations kind of feed up through, kind of giving you, again, that kind of like top of the line, whether it be the tipping point of a pyramid or the top part of your organization chart. So that took me several months to kind of figure out kind of how do all of my values overlap or link together all the way up to the value that I resonate with most or that I identify with most. I knew it was going to be important to kind of carefully work through this exercise because I knew the values that I came up with were going to be basically a launching point for a lot of the work that I wanted to be doing in 2024. So I highly recommend going through this exercise if you're also someone that's trying to reprioritize or kind of redefine the type of work that you want to be doing for your company, and or if you're an employee, maybe identifying core values and making sure they line up with the company that you're working for or a company that you're going to be pursuing working for, and or if you just want to kind of make some changes in your personal life. You might use this exercise to kind of reprioritize how you're spending your time, the kind of company that you're keeping, and so forth. So I look forward to sharing a little bit more about the values that I came up with for myself and kind of how I'm implementing them into my daily life and the type of work that I'm going to be pursuing in the future.